Hi students, in the previous class we discussed about the lithosphere. What is the lithosphere and what are the layers of the lithosphere. We also discussed about the solid waste. What is the solid waste, how solid waste is generated, and also there are some classification of the solid waste and mainly depends on the source. That means from where solid waste is generated. Today we will discuss about the solid waste management. That means how we can control the generation of the solid waste. Myself, Tanmoy Dotto, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, JS College of Engineering, welcome you all in my second lecture of solid waste. Myself, Tanmoy Dotto, Assistant Professor, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, JS College of Engineering, welcome you all in my second lecture of land pollution. And today we'll discuss about the different types of step-by-step process which already exist in our society, by which we can control the generation of the solid waste. So what are the step-by-step process by which we can control the generation of the solid waste? You know, each and every mainly municipal area, that the step-by-step process by which we can finally destroy the solid waste. You know that solid waste is the it is actually heaven for the small insect, like starting from the mosquito, cockroach, etc, etc. Okay, and from there, from the garbage, actually there are some kinds of disease of which spread. So solid waste management is a very important factor nowadays. Without solid waste management, it is not possible to get a clean society. So what are the step-by-step process by which we can control the generation of the solid waste? So first of all, the first step in this list, in this category, that this is the collection. Okay, so I will discuss each and every step in details. So first of all, I will tell you that what are the steps which are included in the solid waste management. So first step is the collection. Second step, what is the second step? Second step is the storage. So storage is the second step. What is the third step? Third step is the transportation. Okay, so third step is the transportation. It is the third step. Now come to the fourth step. Fourth step is the, and this is very important step, it is called a recycling. Recycling. And the last step of the solid waste management, that this is the this is actually disposal, or that means we have to finally destroy the solid waste. Okay, so these are the 5 steps which we have to follow. Actually it is followed in our today's society, step-by-step process, and during that process, or by if we follow that each and every process, then only we can control the generation of the solid waste properly. Collection. Okay, so now what is the collection? Collection means, what is the collection? Collection means, you know, each and every day morning one collector come each and every house to collect all the solid waste materials, isn't it? So that man or that particular collector, after collecting all the solid waste materials, they keep that solid waste materials in a particular area which is selected for the solid waste. We have to keep in mind that the collector after collecting all the materials, there's a particular place where all the solid waste materials is dumped there. Okay, but if this place is generally it is situated in the community. Okay, generally it is situated in the community. Okay, so it is not far away from the community. So if we keep the solid waste materials in this particular place for a long time, then what happen? it spread some kinds of germs from there, because the place is not far away from the community. So that's why this place actually for keeping the solid waste materials for 2 to 3 days. After 2 to 3 days we have to transfer all the solid waste materials from that place. So that place, generally it is called, the name of the place that is called actually storage. So storage is for for keeping the solid waste materials for not for long time, it is for short time purpose, and it is the role of the collector. There is another problem of the collector also, that if it is rainy day, or if it is the for any reason, if the collector do not come to collect the solid waste materials, then what happen? Then people used to throw their solid waste materials to the street or to the open place. And if it is a rainy season, then what happen? Then the decomposition is very much easier, or they readily decompose the solid waste materials, and for that reason what happen, there is some bacteria or the germs which are produced from the solid waste, it rapidly spread. So these are the problems of the collection step. There are 5 steps what I told you. Each and every step there are some drawbacks also, there are some advantages side also. So what is the advantage of that step? Advantage means that each and every day from each and every house they can give all the solid waste materials to the collector, such that collector can transfer all the solid waste materials to the storage. Storage means it is for short time purpose, because the area of the storage, this is situated in the community. Now come to the next step, that is the storage. Okay, so if we consider the step storage, then storage means this is the place which is developed in the which is situated in the community, where for a short time we can keep the solid waste materials. There is also another drawback what I told you, that we can't keep the solid waste materials in the storage, because there is 2 problems. First problem is that generally the solid waste materials remain in the storage area in uncovered state. This was not covered. So this can cause the unhygienic condition, create unhygienic condition in the locality. That means which houses are there side by side of the storage place, there from the storage place it can create the unhygienic condition to the locality. So if it is possible that regularly we can transfer the solid waste materials from storage to another place, it will be more helpful, okay, to keep the society clean and healthy. So after the storage, what happened after the storage? After the storage, the next step is that this is called the transportation. Okay, now what is the transportation? Transportation means, you know, that after storage there is a place which is far away from the community, and this is the big place. That means there are so many little site for the storage area, from all the storage area. After 2 to 3 days, then all the materials will be transferred to that particular area. This is called the transportation process, because this is this is far away, or this is situated far away from the community. So we can keep all the solid waste materials there for the long time, and then not only that we can keep there, we can dispose also there. There are several kinds of systems are there in the transportation in the area which is far away from the community. But what is the drawbacks we can see, or what is the problem in this step, which all of us we see? Actually, what is the problem? The problem is that, you know, when generally what happen when the transportation occur, then generally the lorries or the trucks are overloaded. That's why throughout the road the solid waste materials fall on the road. If the solid waste materials fall on the road, then what happen? It creates some kinds of problems, like it can decompose there, it can produce some kinds of bad smells, germs, etc, etc. And another thing is that during the transportation process, all the trucks or lorries should be covered. Otherwise, there are some kinds of bad smell which are coming from the trucks or lorries which are loaded by the solid waste materials. Okay, so this is the transportation process. So after transportation, there is a very important thing which we have to keep in mind. What is the step or what is the process? This is the recycling. So after transportation we have to follow the recycling process. So what is the recycling process? Recycling process means, you know, that mainly biodegradable solid waste materials, that means which are mainly organic solid wastes. So these kind of solid waste materials are not actually 100% waste. Okay, so they are not 100% waste materials. If we follow the particular process of recycling, then we can recollect again some kinds of nutrients from the organic solid waste materials. So before going to the disposal step, or before going to dispose the solid waste materials, we have to check either is it possible to recollect the nutrients from the organic solid waste. Is it possible? Is there any kind of nutrient? Then we should follow the step of the recycling. Then we should move to the process of the disposal. Okay, so disposal method, before disposal method we have to follow the recycling step. So now after recycling, what we have to do? After recycling there is a step, this is called the disposal. Disposal means we have to destroy the solid waste materials. So there are different kinds of process of which are available in our country, by which it is possible to dispose the solid waste materials. So mainly there are three steps there by which we can dispose the solid waste materials. Okay, so first one is the landfill. There is another name also, I will tell you. Second one is the incineration. There is an incineration and third one is the composting. I will discuss each and every disposal method in details. Third one is the composting. I will discuss each and every disposal method in details one by one. So first of all, what is the landfill method? Landfill method means first of all we have to choose one site which is suitable for the disposal of the solid waste materials, and then or it is useful for the landfill process. Then we have to pit a dark in this particular area, and then we have to transfer all the solid waste materials there. Then we have to cover it by the soil. Okay, so this is the general process of the landfill. So landfill, there is another thing is that landfill is carefully designed structure built into or on top of the ground, in which trash is separated from the area around it. Okay, so landfill contain garbage and several prevent contamination between the waste and the surrounding environment, especially groundwater. So this is the another thing I will discuss, that advantage or disadvantage. There is a chance of the mixing of the or the contamination, huge chance of the contamination with the groundwater. This is the drawbacks of the process, but there are some advantages also of this process, of the landfill. So what are the advantages of the landfill process? Look, so in the landfill process there is no air pollution. So air pollution is prevented, and to a large extent. Okay, this is very important. This is not applicable for other cases. So if we consider the land pollution, air pollution is highly prevented. So there is no scope of air pollution in case of your landfill process. Then second is the disease spreading organism like flies, mosquitoes, rodents. They cannot come in direct contact with the waste, and hence spreading of disease can be minimized. This is the second step. That means we can control the disease spreading disease. Okay, so by this process. And third is the a specific location for disposal that can be monitored, where waste can be processed to remove all the recyclable materials before tripping. So that can be under consideration, or that can be, we can monitor also that either this is suitable for not, or if we know that in this area there we can do the landfill process. Also, third point is the landfill have fewer cost, very low cost is required. That's why it is actually most common process, most general process, that there's a very low cost, allowing them to compete favorably with other disposal method. This is the another point also. Okay. Disadvantage, there is a huge disadvantage regarding the groundwater pollution. You have to keep in mind there is a bigger disadvantage, because I can tell you another information thing is that when biodegradable components, that means organic components, decompose, then there is some kinds of carbon dioxide is produced, you know, in presence of or where there is some kinds of carbon monoxide also produced. So hence in presence of water it can produce the carbonic acid H2CO3. When it mixed with the water, then it produces some kind, or it lowers the pH. That means groundwater pH become lower. At that pH, some heavy metals can be mixed with the water, and from groundwater it comes to our body. So in this way, groundwater, there's a huge chance of groundwater pollution. So be careful about this process, because there's a huge chance of ground pollution also. Come to the second point, or second types of process. This is called the incineration. Okay, so it is actually the second step of the process. It's called incineration. So what is the incineration? Incineration means it is generally burning of the solid waste materials. Okay, so this is also called as the thermal treatment. Okay, so generally it is also very cheap process. That's why cheap process means if it is in a particular container, so then it is other fact. But generally what happen in the agriculture field or in any open space, and or for the farmer also, there is a common process by which, if we follow the combustion method, the solid waste materials will be finished, and we can recover the 95% land. What I told you when you start the chapter discussion about the chapter, I told there that the major problem of the solid waste, that not only pollution, also it reduces the usable place. But if we burn the solid waste materials, or if we follow the incineration process, then what happen? We can recover the 95% of usable place. Okay, by this method, and that's why it is very much common process. But what happened, this creates some kinds of ash, flue, gas, heat, etc. Okay, and that's why there are some kinds of the major drawbacks also. So what are the drawbacks of the incineration process? So first of all, it produces the air pollution. This is the huge drawback of the incineration process. This creates the huge air pollution. If we burn all the materials in a closed chamber, then it is the another thing. But generally what happen in India, that in open place or in the field also, this is burned actually, and that's why there's a huge amount of air pollution that is created. Okay, so this is the major problem. And after burning of the solid waste materials, what is the remaining part? If there is any remaining part, like plastic, if there is any plastic materials exist, then what happen? It stick with the earth. And when obviously there is a land pollution, there is a huge chance of land pollution. And also there during the when rainy time, if water flow on that on this type of sticky materials, this is very much poisonous, then it mixed with the water also, and in this way there is a chance of the water pollution also. Okay, so that means three kinds of pollutions we can expect from the incineration process. That's why it is very simple, very cheap generally, if we follow in open place, but this is very much harmful also. Okay, now come to the next step or next type of process. This is called the composting. So what is the composting? Composting means, look here, composting means here that it is one kind of landfill process, but the only difference is that this kind of landfill process, it is used by the only organic materials. Okay, so composting is a form of waste disposal where organic waste decompose naturally under oxy-rich condition. Although all waste will be eventually decomposed, only certain waste items are considered composable and should be added to compost containers. Food waste such as banana peels, coffee grinds, your egg shells are a great item for the composting. Okay, and that's why this is the particular process, but not applicable for all types of solid waste materials. What I told you, this is one kind of landfill process, but with only the particular types of solid waste materials that are the biodegradable materials mainly. What are the advantages of this process? The main advantage of this process is that there is no smell is that is coming to the, or no bad smell is coming to the environment. Okay, so no bad smell is coming, so that are eliminated. That flies and mosquitoes cannot breed there. This is another important, because all these things are under the ground, under the soil, under the land. Harmful pathogens are killed. Okay, this is another things. Maximum nutrients. Okay, so like nitrogen, phosphorus, your potassium is obtained in usable form. That means what I told you, that if the organic materials, all the organic materials are not 100% waste materials. If we follow the particular process or procedure, we can recollect this kind of organic materials. Then that's why if we follow the particular process of the composting, again we can recollect the nutrients. Okay. Then excessive use of chemical fertilizer is reduced. So actually composting means it is the conversion of solid waste, biodegradable solid waste materials into the fertilizer. Okay, this is the conversion. So if this is the conversion of biodegradable materials to the solid waste, to the fertilizer, then obviously the chemical fertilizer, the utilization of chemical fertilizers will be decreased, isn't it? So if chemical fertilizer will be utilization of the chemical fertilizer will be decreased, there are two wings of the utilization. First one, we can decompose, or we can destroy the solid waste materials in one hand. In other hand, by this process we can reduce the utilization of chemical fertilizer. So that's why this is the most important process, or most required process, or it should be used in major amount for its high utilization or high advantage side. And another thing that it's dirty. It is obviously it's a very much dirty process. This can be smelly too, depending on the types of materials used, and some kinds of also groundwater pollution also possible from this process, what I discussed with you in the when you discussed the disadvantages of the landfill process. So these kinds of process also possible in the time of the composting. Okay, so these three types of process which we discussed. Okay, another thing is that open dumping, but open dumping is not very much fruitful for the environment. Okay, so that's why these three are the major process by which the disposal method are followed. Okay, so that's all for today. So what we discussed, I just summarized the overall topic one by one what we discussed today. So first of all we discussed about the step-by-step process. We discussed about the step-by-step process of the solid waste management. You can call it also municipal solid waste management. Okay, so it is the step-by-step process. There are so many steps are there, okay, which we discussed one by one, starting from the collections to storage, then transportation, then recycle, and obviously then your disposal method. Okay, so by this process there we can control the generation of the solid waste. And then we discussed about the three types of majorly three types of disposal methods are available there, like landfill process, like incineration process, and like composting. So we discussed about that three processes. Okay, other than that three, there may be open dumping, there may be another process. Okay, so in the next class we'll discuss about the Another types of topic, like what is the hazardous solid waste, and there are some 4R factors which we have to follow each and every daily life. There are some conditions of the hazardous solid waste, and also there are some we'll start a next chapter also, that is the noise pollution, or more prominently sound pollution, noise pollution or sound pollution maybe. So the basic concept of the noise pollution also we'll discuss in the next class. So up to that point, thanks to all of you for attending my class. Thank you again, goodbye.